Welcome to the morning call. And with its myriad calls for the United Nations to take a look into the situation in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, the International Federation for Human Rights is convening its members in South Africa, where the caucus has announced that the Democratic Republic of Congo the Democratic Republic of Congo, the situation in the country has to be looked into. Now, the FIDH is known for spearheading several human rights violation-based investigations, with the recent one being on the Malian Islamic extremist Al Faqi standing trial at The Hague.
And U.S. Secretary of State was yesterday in Kenya to discuss with 8 ministers in the region on the situation in South Sudan, an occasion for the Human Rights Watch to call on John Kerry to discuss human rights issues with President Uhuru Kenyatta. But will there be a real impact after this? Joining us this morning is Florent Gilles, head of the African Bureau of the International Federation for Human Rights in Paris. This is the 39th edition of the FIDH Summit. According to you, what's going to be the real impact of this conference?
Cette plus grande influence, cette meilleure coopération, absolument. Cette plus grande influence, cette plus grande coopération, c'est le rôle même de la FIDH qui compte à elle-même 178 organisations membres.
It's also the role of the FIDH, which has 178 member organizations in more than 120 countries. In addition, there are organizations in the sub-region that are actually in this global movement.
Dans ce mouvement mondial, cherche à faire en sorte que
we try to make sure that the fight against terrorism, for human rights, that all these topics are taken into account, to have an influence on all the economic actors of the society to improve the situation of human rights worldwide. So it's obviously a great moment for the FIDH after every 3 years, and it's an opportunity for the global civil societies to act together, to coordinate in order to be effective, and this will provide results. Some trials had already taken place and decisions were made. Those advocating for human rights are now more protected. The strategies of implementation, particularly regarding the protection of its members. Today, for example, communications have been secured that allow us to better do our jobs. There's also, for instance, the trial of Ahmad al Faqi, who destroyed mausoleums in northern Mali, in Timbuktu, who is also responsible for sex crimes. And complaints have been taken to the Malian justice system for the victims to be heard.
Par exemple, le procès d'Abu Tourab, ce djihadiste qui a détruit des mausolées à Tombouctou, au Mali, au nord du Mali. Eh bien, évidemment, la société civile est impliquée. On a fait des enquêtes. On sait que ce djihadiste est aussi responsable de crimes sexuels.
Well, there are hundreds of victims of sex crimes in Mali, and this is just an example of a case we are working on. The Democratic Republic of Congo has once more been struck with violence and an alarming humanitarian crisis in the east of the country, in Beni. It leaves an impression that the civil society is fighting alone.
Les massacres qui se déroulent dans la région de Beni sont
Well, the attacks taking place in Beni are obviously to be condemned. So it's about some Ugandan militias. So one wonders how these armed groups are operating in the politics of certain countries in the region to destabilize them, especially now when the DRC is headed for a crucial presidential election. And even if the president, Joseph Kabila, wants to extend his mandate by all means and could use this destabilization and killings that are taking place in the east of the country to say he will extend his mandate, the elections have to be organized in a peaceful manner in this region.
Utiliser cette déstabilisation et ces massacres qui se déroulent à l'est du pays pour dire qu'il va prolonger son mandat le temps d'organiser des élections de façon apaisée dans cette région.
This possible manipulation has been denounced by the civil society. The United Nations, which is present in the DRC, But we ask the United Nations to act on the perpetrators because it is good governance, but also alternating political powers in this state will allow the return of peace in the country. It's an essential condition for this kind of change, for the political development of our states. So we are calling on the United Nations to act, and that the different governments to pay attention, not to support different armed groups operating in the region.
À s'abstenir de soutenir les groupes armés de la région qui commettent ce type de massacre. Malheureusement, la déstabilisation de l'Est.
Unfortunately, the destabilization in the east of the Congo is recurrent, and it often serves as a political and economic interest to exploit the resources of this country. And it has to stop because there are more than 25 million deaths recorded in the country for more than 20 years now. It's a tragedy that must end in one way or the other. And what about what's going on in Ethiopia?
Où des manifestations violentes ont eu lieu et elles ont été réprimées un peu dans le sang aussi.
Oui, les FIDH condamnent avec la plus grande fermeté les massacres et la répression des manifestations.
The FIDH condemns with the utmost firmness the repression of the protesters, especially of the Oromo in Ethiopia. The population is simply asking for democracy, but also to be taken into consideration in the government projects in the capital Addis Ababa, for example, the expropriation of land. So it's imperative that the Ethiopian government hears out these people and ensure there's democracy. That means to stop the elections, which have systematically been suppressed for more than 10 years, as it was in 2008 for the opposition. So the government must hear the claims of its own people and, of course, stop putting pressure, because today more than 150 to 400 people, according to different estimates, have been killed since November and December. So it's a crackdown that has to stop, because Ethiopia has the means of development and greater democratization of the regime.
Grande démocratisation de son régime. Le gouvernement doit effectivement entendre sa propre population aujourd'hui.
That was Florent Gilles speaking to us from Paris, France. He's the African Bureau Head of FIDH.